Oh, rest days, gotta love them. And you know what? They're just as important for me as any other workout that's scheduled during the training blocks. And that's because I need a full day of rest from time to time in order to be able to recover from all of that physical activity that I've been putting my body through. But that doesn't mean that I don't do anything on my rest days. In fact, I try to make the most of them. And I start out still doing all of the mobility exercises that Netic Health had put together for me to do that works on my problem areas, especially in my hips. So I got to keep those loose. And I'll share some of those with you here. I'll put them up on the screen while I'm talking. So this is kind of stuff that Netic Health has put together for me to do that will work on, like I said, specific areas for me. And I deal a lot with shin splint pain, or what I guess would refer to as overuse injuries, especially when I get towards the top of the mountain during the training block, which usually runs right around week 8, 9, somewhere in that area, where you're really pushing hard and your mileage is up and you're running maybe 4 days in a row, which for me, that's when I can start to have some issues. So I want to continue to do all of my mobility stuff. And to be honest, it feels terrific to start my day that way. It just loosens everything up. It just puts me in a much better mood. And today, it's so great today. I just absolutely love it. Not just because it's a rest day, but because the sun is shining. In fact, if I had my druthers, I'd be out running today because it's just such a gorgeous day to be outside. And it's been a while since we've seen the sun shine here. So I still want to make the most of today. And by that, I mean, I need to get a lot of errands done that will pave the way for a much smoother week coming ahead. Plus, I like to take my rest days as an opportunity to think back a little bit and reflect on the previous week. And maybe all the things that I was able to accomplish, but maybe more importantly, the things that I wasn't. So I'm going to hold myself accountable for some of the things that I had intended to do, but didn't get around to doing, that I need to do a better job at. And I'm certainly going to call myself out on it. And that's doing my weight training. I haven't gotten into that habit of doing weight training like I should. And there's no excuse other than I just didn't do it. So I need to get better at that. And for weight training, the 3 different sets that they put together for me, A, B, and C, I've run through each of them now at least once, and some of them twice. But it only takes about 30 minutes, so it's not a matter of not having the time. I need to make sure that I'm dedicating that time and that I get to it. And sometimes, honestly, because it's not ingrained into my routine, I just forget until the day is over. So that's something that I'm going to have to write on my calendar, weight training. But I want to fit it in on days where it seems to make the most sense. So, maybe on a speed day, so that if I'm keeping my hard days hard and my easy days easy, that might be a good opportunity to do that. So if I'm going to be out running intervals, or maybe even on a long run day for that matter. But something that might be a little bit more taxing to my body is where I intend to try to fit some of those weight training days in. And I'm excited to use my jump box. I just got that the other day, and I haven't really put it to great use yet, but I have been using it to do some of those mobility exercises, and it's worked out really well for that, much better than what I was using before, which was basically a chair. Of course, I continue to do my foam rolling today because, again, that feels pretty darn terrific. But the other types of things that I want to do, as I mentioned, is to work ahead a little bit and take advantage of the fact that, I've got a little extra time on my hands today. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of, running errands, so getting to the grocery store, picking up the things I'm going to need to get me through the week, but then come back and prepare some of those things. So one of my favorite meals to have is like a sweet potato and black bean burger, and I think I've mentioned that in other videos before. If I haven't, it's definitely one of my favorites. And they're so easy and simple to make. It doesn't take very long. If I could do it, anybody can do it, because I don't pride myself necessarily on my culinary skills because they're next to zero. But this is something I can do. And what's great about it is once you prepare them, you're making maybe 6 at a time or so. You can just keep them in the fridge and they'll keep for the next, 3, 4, 5 days. So you've got some ready-made meals at your fingertips that just, like I said, makes life a little bit easier. So when you come in off that long run, for example, and you're tired and, you can maybe down a quick glass of protein, But for me, it's typically after I shower and do all those kinds of things on those long run days, it's lunchtime by the time I get done. And I might not feel like making a big meal, but I certainly have time enough or enough energy to heat up a black bean burger, for example, in the oven or where, in the microwave or whatever. All right, so I got the oven preheating to 400 degrees. Everything in these are already pre-cooked. So basically you're gonna cook them for as long as you like the texture to be. So the longer you cook them, obviously the more firm and dry they're gonna be. Typically for me, it's about 20 minutes and then I flip them and cook another 15 minutes on the other side. And I'm just gonna take and kind of ball these up a little bit to about the size that I like to have, roll them around just a tad, set them down and kind of squish them into a patty. I don't like to have them too thin, because I just like to have thicker burgers. And this will typically make somewhere around, 6 maybe. Sometimes a few more depending on the size of the patties that you like to make. And I also have down a piece of parchment paper. It just helps the cleanup to be a little bit better. And I also like to keep some paper towel handy because after I do one or two, they just seem to want to stick to my hands. So I like to wipe them off just a little bit in between making my patties. Seems to make it go a little bit easier for me. And again, I am not a culinary king, but this is something that's easy for me to do and they taste great. And I think they're a pretty healthy meal for you, especially if you're a runner or endurance athlete. Lots of what I would call good carbs. I'm not paleo or keto, but I do consider myself to be carb conscious. And by that, I just mean that, I'm more concerned about where my carbs are coming from than how many carbs I'm taking in. So I'm okay taking in carbs as long as they're healthy carbs, carbs that are going to help me achieve my goals. So in other words, staying away from a lot of the sweets, not that I don't indulge from time to time, because I do. But I try to get the majority of my carbs from things that I know are going to help me perform better as a runner. So, oatmeal is a good one. I eat a lot of blueberries. I put blueberries on pretty much everything, in my oatmeal and my yogurt, that kind of stuff. All right, I've almost got my patties made up. I heard the buzzer go off, and as you can see, these are starting to stick to my hands already. So I might have to do one more paper towel swipe through. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. Having troubles. Ugh, there we go. Oh my goodness, I could never have my own cooking show, that's for sure. All right, let's scrape it down in here, and sure enough, true to form, looks like we're gonna have about 6 patties that are gonna be made up. But that's 6 different meals I don't gotta worry about in the future. And something that my mom had said to me early on when I kind of moved out on my own is it's always better to cook once and eat twice. So definitely it's good to have leftovers. They're my favorite meal of the day because that means I didn't have to cook it. So that's my plan for today, is to make the most of my rest days. And I was so excited. So quick Boston update. I got an email the other day, I think about 2 days ago, that the window right now to update your qualifying time so that you can get put in the right corral was happening now. So I went ahead and did that because when I qualified for Boston, I did so right off at the first marathon that I completed, and that was the Bayshore Marathon. It was 3 hours and 27 minutes and 49 seconds. And I ran Detroit in 3 hours and 21 minutes and 10 seconds. So I definitely wanted to use my updated time so I can get put in a corral. And this is really important to me. And the reason why is it's my understanding. So correct me if I'm wrong, you guys that have run the Boston Marathon or you know more about it than I do, because this is my first attempt at it, is that they don't have pacers. They don't have official pacers. And when I ran Bayshore and I ran Detroit, I found the pace group that I wanted to be in, and I stuck to that pacer the best that I could. So I didn't have to really worry about that because somebody else was shouldering that burden for me. All I had to worry about was keeping my legs turning over so I could stay with them. Boston doesn't have a pacers like this. At least that's my understanding. So, trying to come up with or being a little bit concerned about maintaining my own pace, that's definitely been an issue of mine. So making sure that I'm put in the right corral with runners who have times like mine, I think will make it just a little bit easier for me, because even though I might not have an official pacer, I will have an unofficial kind of pace group. So my thinking is, I can, stick with those runners that are going off in the same corral, and I should come in about where I want to be, which I haven't shared with everybody yet. But as you know, I do want to come in at least as good as I did in Detroit, and maybe a little bit better. But I do have some goals. I'll share those with you here soon in an upcoming video this week. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind of one of the. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Run Tall with Tim.